My temporary mistake. I had something I had to work on. Good evening and welcome to This Week in Paranormal. We're show that's going to go into the mysterious, unexplained, and the otherworldly. I'm Sean Wang, your host, and I'll guide you through the latest in the grace, all the UFO encounters, ghostly sightings, ancient mysteries, modern day miracles, and we'll have a little bit of fun along the way. All links will be in the description down below. Welcome to the first person to come in live on the stream. Welcome. Glad you're here, by the way. Also, Chad, my
Yes,
co-host,
sir.
how are you, man?
I can't complain.
How was camping over the weekend?
No, it was fun. Couldn't have asked for a better fucking camping day.
I have
Minus the
to
rain.
agree. Yes. Oh, but yeah. I was there too with just so everyone knows, and we had a great time despite the rain. It did make it a little more tough on Monday. Evening was a little rough.
Yeah. It was still fun, though.
It was. We had a little bit of booze along the way to help things. Never hurt a
Yep.
thing. All right. Well, for those of you that have been around for a while, at a certain point early on, we always do a toast. We do a toast to the fact that it's Thursday evening. We're dangerously close to Friday and the weekend. Also, of course, to a great show.
Yes, sir.
Everyone, cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Now, I guess let's get to the pictures and such. All right. First picture comes from, I like to call a familiar person to us.
Oh, boy.
Lyle Robertson. She's from Australia. She regularly posts a slapped ham. We've checked in before on her and some of her posts. This time I went back and I think she does it mostly for attention. Whether she'll admit it or not, I don't know. But there is something different on this one, or on these series of pictures that we can check out and indicate what we think about it. And
Now,
the first one,
are we
Go ahead.
talking about the street going across?
Absolutely, yes.
That could be a spider web.
I was thinking also the possibility of fog and even like a rear view light of a car coming into it. Or if there is some kind of red light or reddish off light that actually is not like IR, which doesn't put any light out, but actually does
Right.
something. Or they just have a red light handy somewhere.
Yeah.
That color would at least be very similar. And let me go to that spot here. And we have a number of pictures. Again, this is from Lael Robertson from Australia. See, there's another one. These are all the same area. She did do one thing really well. She took a series of pictures. They were close, pretty much the same area. She didn't take them all exactly as I recommend, one after another, boom, 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 because the camera moved a little bit. But at least she took a number of pictures where you can compare it to. And for it to be paranormal, well, it would never last this long. And there's a sign of motion too, with the aperture set to night mode, or at least a longer opening setting. That'll produce lines, shadow effects. You can get a figure 8 or an S type thing, lightning from off of a light on there. That effect is all based off of the aperture being open for a longer period of time.
I don't know.
You don't know about what?
I don't think that's an apparition.
Oh, apparition. Oh, God, no. Where are we looking at for an apparition here?
Like, are we supposed to be looking at paranormal?
Yes. Like, I guess according to her, these light streaks right through here, I guess, should
Right.
be paranormal related.
I think that could be what you said, fog.
I think that's one of the more likely candidates. I mean, because it takes up the whole picture.
Yeah.
And I think in some kind of red light effect somewhere.
That's an awful big apparition.
Plus, it lasts forever.
Yeah, that too.
But yeah, those are reasons why I don't put a lot of faith in these pictures. All right, let's move on. Our next picture, let's bring it up. It's from Britton Posey of Sarasota, Florida. They state it was not a helicopter and no sound was being emitted. Could a drone pass? Go ahead.
They got that from a movie.
Is that from a movie?
That's what it looks like.
I saw the picture. I thought, we have not looked at a picture like this. And I thought, well, let's put it up there and see what people think.
Right. That's just my opinion.
And I think you have a good chance of actually being right on that. Because when you look at it, can a drone possibly put off that much light?
No, a drone definitely could not. Unless if there's fog in the area.
Mm-hmm.
But more than likely, no.
All right. Because that would be pretty much one of the few things, or some kind of like, if it wasn't over water, maybe some kind of street lamp would be possible, or parking lot lamp set, light set. But we're over water, so that's not going to be the case.
And the drone wouldn't be that bright in the center.
It wouldn't be?
No, they have flashing lights. They don't have steady lights.
Okay, because that is exceptionally bright.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how bright that is.
Right? I'm calling it movie.
And we'll move right on to the third one. We believe that's from a movie, by the way, just for anyone tuning in late. We have a picture that comes from Chad himself. Can you tell us a little bit about this picture, Chad?
We're at Sunbury, Pennsylvania, in a library that we were told that had paranormal activity. And I sat myself down in a hallway and I took 3 pictures of this. Unfortunately, I didn't send the other 2, which I should have. But this is what I caught in my one picture. And I tried to do some photo editing on it to kind of make it a little more stand out more, to try and see if I can get a figure out of it. And it's hard to determine, but to me, I think that's something.
All right, let me take a look at it here.
And there was no lens defect or nothing like that, no lens flares or any reflection or nothing.
Yeah, usually a lens flare is going to be brighter.
Yeah.
Is what I would expect on a lens flare. Yeah, that is interesting.
Because I was sitting in the dark, perfectly still.
Mm-hmm.
Took 3 pictures. I should have sent you the other 2. I didn't even think about it.
Oh, yep, that's something I'd get on your case for. Yeah, but that's it's interesting. It's a cool picture.
Yeah, to me that's unexplainable. Like there's not. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah, that is definitely a interesting picture, and it definitely looks like the shape is not of a figure. And like you said, there's not much camera flare, or no camera flare there really.
Because you can tell from like the base of it goes narrow and then it widens out, like shoulders or arms.
Yeah, it does look like it does that. Yeah. Well, that's very cool. All right. We'll move on. We're going to our first video, and we're going to swap out third screen
very
here.
obsessed with. They're posing 4 possibilities, like
here.
maybe
This is a jumping ahead.
crypto-terrestrials or like this secret advanced civilization that's been hiding somewhere here on Earth, or even maybe the moon where we can't see them, or maybe humans from the future are visiting us, or maybe like magical beings like fairies or angels are real. Now, has this paper been peer-reviewed? No. Looks like the original link doesn't work anymore either, but those headlines traveled the world anyway. So what the heck is going on? Become very obsessed with.
I didn't stop it yet, did I?
Possibilities, like maybe crypto-terrestrials or like this secret advanced civilization that's been hiding somewhere here on Earth, or even maybe the moon where we can't see them, or maybe humans from the future visiting us, or maybe like magical beings like fairies, or explain the whole UAP stuff that I...
Let's go back here. Yeah, we had a little bit of an error there. Sorry, guys.
Now you got me into it, damn it.
I know. We'll play the whole thing right in its entirety then here. Or wait, whoops. I know what I got to do. I forgot what I had to do because I had to do things differently.
And I was trying to debunk that from the get-go.
Oh, where? Okay, it would be this one right here. And here we go. This is unexplained. Oh wait, this is a clear video of a UFO over New Mexico. Sounds like a train or some kind underneath there. It almost at times looks like it could be a like an airport where they have the air
like
traffic control
tower.
Like an air control tower. But I don't think, unless the lights are computer added to it.
Yeah, there's just way too much lights for that to be a UFO.
You want to check it out one more time?
Replay it.
It's almost shaped like a top there, the way, like a spinning top he has a toy.
Right.
You can see something like whizzing by right through there at the lower part of the screen.
It almost looks like it's part of like a tower, like a building.
Well,
that I can't.
Because right there, it looks like it connects to the ground. It almost looks like mostly it's blocked from the ground, but right there, it's like it does. You can see something where it connects actually to the ground.
If it was that close to the ground, I think military would have got involved.
Oh yeah, you're definitely right. All right. Now for our next one, this comes to us from Mama D. It's going to be an unexplained anomaly of a flash of light. And this is another person I've scrutinized before.
That looks like a freaking cat.
I guess it could be a cat reflection. I was thinking it could be anything literally that has a flashing light to it.
Yeah.
As long as it's white, because it's so small and in the distance that you really can't see anything of it.
Right. Net. It's too quick.
It is very quick. I would definitely say not paranormal.
No.
It just doesn't look right for what that might be.
Right.
All right. There we go. All right, let's get on then to our broadcast. Our first one is, well, going to be the one that I stopped playing, actually. We'll play it in its entirety, though. This is a Harvard professor. He's going to talk about his research about aliens living on Earth.
As insane as it may sound, it looks like a Harvard paper by social science researchers raised some pretty far out there possibilities that could explain the whole UAP stuff that I've become very obsessed with. They're posing 4 possibilities, like maybe crypto-terrestrials or like this secret advanced civilization that's been hiding somewhere here on Earth, or even maybe the moon where we can't see them, or maybe humans from the future are visiting us, or maybe like magical beings like fairies or angels are real. Now, has this paper been peer-reviewed? No. Looks like the original link doesn't work anymore either, but those headlines traveled the world anyway. So what the heck is going on? Well, we are lucky enough to be joined by the one and only Harvard academic and astrophysicist who we've been talking to about UAP issues for years, Harvard University professor of science and astronomy, Avi Loeb. Professor, thanks so much for being with us. And as soon as I saw the headlines on this paper, I ran to this paper, I scanned, I did not see your name attached there. So I do have to say, though, whether you had anything to do with this or not, you have been, in my eyes, one of the first academics, Ivy League academics, that has taken the idea of extraterrestrials very seriously and discussed it. I'm not sure what kind of Pandora's box you opened, but when it comes to this paper, I got to ask, what do you think about your peers, what they're writing over at Harvard there?
Well, thanks for having me. Indeed, I think that it's arrogant of us to think that we are the only ones out there. There might be much more advanced civilizations, because we came late to the game, and most stars from billions of years before the sun, and a quarter of them have planets the size of the Earth, roughly at the same separation. So it would be really pretentious of us to assume that Albert Einstein was the smartest scientist who ever lived since the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago.
All right. That's kind of interesting.
I'm going to say that's BS, because he was smiling way too much to be serious.
Well, as according to Dr. Rebecca Foster, I am the resident alien of the group. He looks like one of me. If I looked more like an alien, well, I think he looks as much like an alien as I do.
Yeah, but would he be smiling that much?
Well, he knows, he takes it as seriously as he knows it should be taken too, with just a little bit of seriousness, and that's really about it, probably.
Yeah.
I think the possibility, though, is interesting, though. All right. Let's get on to our next one now.
I mean, he did go to Harvard.
Oh, actually, it doesn't mean he went there. He's just an instructor there.
Oh.
Yeah, at Harvard. Okay. The show Paranormal Odyssey is going to interview Kristen, and she is at Paranormal Girl Pod. One moment here. All right, here we go.
What happened when I was 14? I was asleep in my bed very, very late at night, and I was asleep on my back. That's important for the story. And I woke up, I felt a presence in my room, and I looked down to the foot of my bed, and there is a figure standing there, just staring at me. And this figure, it was kind of half shrouded in like moving shadows. The shadows were coming through the trees through the window above my head. And so there was like these swirling shadows from the branches, but I could see like features of her. I could see long hair. I could see pieces of jewelry. And based on that, I was like, oh, I recognize this person. This person is my friend from school. How weird. And so I'm looking at him and I asked, what are you doing here? It's in the middle of the night. What are you doing here? And she doesn't say anything. She just stares. And that's when the realization hit me that, oh, this is not my friend from school. This is something else. And I was just struck with fear, intense fear. Now, in that state, I don't know, half asleep, half awake, was I? I don't know. But in that state, logically thinking, I was like, okay. I don't want it to know that I know it's not my friend. I gotta keep the conversation going. And so I look at her and I go, what time is it? And at the time, there used to be this bedside table and a lamp and a little digital clock just right by my shoulder. And I could see her head, and she moved it down to look at the clock, looked back at me, and in my friend's voice, she said, it's 3:50. And right as she said that, like I felt this like pull back into sleep, just deep sleep. And as I'm falling, like I can feel my head falling to the pillow. I'm screaming in my head, like, don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. It's still there. My head hits the pillow. Right then, I spring wide awake, eyeballs open, fully awake. I sit straight up in my bed. I'm breathing. I'm looking all around. There's nothing in my room, of course. I calm myself down and I go to settle back down. I'm just like, the whole time, I'm just like, God, what a weird dream. That was so real. What a weird dream. And I go to lay back down and I go to turn over on my left side to kind of settle back in. And I'm staring right at the clock and it says 3:50.
That's intriguing how what she thought was a dream, the time matched up.
She's very detailed about that too.
I think she at least thinks what happened to her, I
Right.
believe. At the very least, she's not purposely making it up trying to deceive anybody.
No, because there's too much detail to it.
Mm-hmm. It's a good story she made.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's got me intrigued.
And I imagine there's a lot of people that also have similar stories just like that too.
Right.
And that's why I put this segment out there. Plus, I don't think I had anything on Paranormal Odyssey before as well.
That's a good segment.
It was a nice little segment. All right. Now we move on to our special segment. For tonight, it's a little bit off topic, but it's still very intriguing to me. And that's why we're doing it. Tonight's topic of the information on that is on the Smiley Face Killers. And here we go. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be going into something that I found very interesting. The theory related around the Smiley Face Killer or killers. Inside the disturbing theory of Smiley Face Killer and the baffling deaths behind it. Since 1997, these 45 young men have mysteriously disappeared after a night at the bar, only to be found dead in a nearby body of water. And some believe the shadowy Smiley Face Killer is to blame. Between 1997 and 2017, authorities pulled the bodies of more than 40 young men out of rivers, lakes, and more than 25 cities across 11 states. Most of them were college-age, popular, and athletic. Nearly all the men had last been seen leaving bars or parties while inebriated. Time and again, police understandably theorized that the men had become too drunk, wandered too close to the water, and simply fallen in with no hope of climbing out in their intoxicated state. But in 2008, two retired New York City police officers turned private investigators who had been looking into the deaths announced their eerie findings. Painted on walls near the locations where at least a dozen of the bodies were found was the same symbol over and over, a smiley face. Given the presence of the graffiti and the similarities among the victims, the two investigators insisted that the deaths had been the work of a serial murderer or a gang of murderers, now widely known as Smiley Face Killer. They're psychopaths, one of the investigators said of the murderer, or murderers at the time. They have no remorse. But is the Smiley Face Killer really out there, or was there never any murder at all? The investigators responsible for popularizing the Smiley Face Killer theory in 2008, Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte, based a significant amount of their theory on the disappearance of Fordham University student Patrick McNeil in New York City on February 16, 1997. That night, McNeil was last seen leaving a bar called the Dapper Dog on Manhattan's Upper East Side. McNeil's friends and family members searched tirelessly for him alongside the police until April 7th, when his body was found floating in the water near a pier in the Bay Ridge area of Brooklyn. It seemed like an accidental drowning, but Gannon disagreed. He vowed to the young man's parents that he would discover the truth. After retiring from the New York City Police Department in 2001, he enlisted Duarte, his old partner, and they set out to learn what had happened to McNeil and the other young men who had died under the similar circumstances under the banner of their nationwide investigations firm. Their official report in the case of McNeil found copious evidence suggesting that someone had killed him and then placed him in the water. Intoxication consistent with drugging, a car seen following him after he left the bar, ligature marks around his neck, charring on his head and torso, and the fact that his body position in the water was inconsistent with a typical drowning incident. Therefore, Gannon and Duarte conclude that Neil had been stalked, drugged, abducted, bound, burned, killed, and dumped in the water. The two detectives were sure they had a murderer on their hands, and that McNeil was far from the only victim. While the Patrick McNeil case may have ignited Gannon and Duarte's suspicions, they began working on the Smiley Face Killer theory even more intensely after learning about other young men who had died in eerily similar circumstances. Gannon and Duarte were now more sure than ever they were chasing a serial killer or killers. Furthermore, they suggested that the Smiley Face Killer may have been motivated to murder out of envy. Duarte told CNN in 2008 that the killer was likely the opposite of the victims. Not smart, someone not good in school, maybe doesn't have a job, not popular, and lashed out by drugging and murdering the men before dumping their bodies in the water. In addition to killing their victims, the Smiley Face Killer was believed to have left her signature behind the scene. Perhaps they were signing their work, as it were, or taunting police. However, any other significance of the symbol remains unclear, as does the explanation for the occasional appearance of the word Sinsinawa at some of the death scenes. While such elements of the case remained a mystery, the investigators believed they'd finally caught a break in 2006. A University of Minnesota student named Christopher Jenkins had been pulled out of the Mississippi River in Minneapolis after a night of bar hopping with friends 4 years earlier, and his official cause of death was listed as accidental drowning. But the detectives believed that he fit the victim profile for their Smiley Face Killer. His parents did not accept the official version of deaths of the event and insisted that foul play had been involved in their son's death. He was loaded into a vehicle, a van, driven around, and eventually murdered. His mother, Jen Jenkins, told CNN he was murdered and thrown away like a piece of trash. It was in 2006 that an informant finally came forward in prison and gave police enough information regarding Jenkins' demise that they officially changed his death from accidental drowning to homicide. Nevertheless, the Minneapolis police came out and said they didn't believe that a serial killer was responsible for Jenkins' death, or for the dozens of other deaths that Gannon and Duarte had folded into their Smiley Face Killer theory. So, does this mysterious murderer really exist? While Gannon and Duarte turned up a wealth of disturbing details over the years, the fact remains that the theory of the Smiley Face Killer has been widely discredited. The police departments involved do not officially treat these deaths as part of a serial killer investigation. Law enforcement aside, the Minneapolis nonprofit Center for Homicide Research released a thorough report on the Smiley Face Killer theory in 2010 that firmly debunked the entire idea. In addition to citing law enforcement and criminal justice experts who believe there's no serial killer, the researchers investigated the cases themselves. They came up with at least 18 reasons why they're sure there's no Smiley Face Killer. According to that group, the CHR, most of the victims displayed no evidence of physical trauma or drugging, while the circumstances did indeed suggest accidental drowning, moreover, they point to the absence of motive or any hard evidence actually linking the deaths. As for the smiley faces, the researchers state that they're not consistent with each other and were never proven to have been made around the times of the deaths and don't reliably occur within close proximity to the death scenes. Experts also say Sinsinawa is a Native American word meaning rattlesnake that often appears in graffiti across the Midwest. However, Gannon and Duarte have stood by their theory, insisting that the cases are linked and that the Smiley Face Killer is still at large. But if the CHR is correct and there is no killer, then why are people so willing to believe there is? As the researchers wrote in their paper, throughout history, society has always needed to produce monsters to help explain the unexplainable. All right. That's one interesting topic. What'd you say?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I am skeptical on the serial killers. But if they are, I think at least at times they had a woman in the bar who went up to the guy, probably slipped him something in the drink, and said, "Hey, let's go to my place." And I was talking with people, and it's if a woman's carrying a guy that's drunk, that's okay. Much more acceptable than a guy trying to help a woman along that's super freaking drunk.
Yeah.
But I think that could be the case a few times, but I'm skeptical on serial killers. But I do think certainly it was like 45 over that period of time, and people that should be in decent shape and health, and yet they all seem to wander to the river for some reason.
Yeah.
But my thought is that is a high number, but I think some of them were murdered. But for as far as serial killer go, and obviously Mr. Jenkins was killed, was murdered.
I had said to you when we went camping that it could be paranormal, that entities could possess people into doing stuff.
Well,
I just don't think that they could possess them that much to take drugs.
Yeah, I don't think that much. And I've never heard them go into water.
Right.
Because even if you're possessed by something bad or evil, it still kind of needs you to survive.
Right.
To keep going. It feeds off you that way. That's why they really can't kill you. They can drive you to death. That's about it.
Right.
And they can even tell you should kill yourself. But beyond that, they can't kill you themselves.
Right.
So that's why I don't know. I'm skeptical on that. That is a little far-fetched, but
it's a tough one.
It is. There are certainly some things that are unexplained, and also in the Riley Strain case, I believe that's a more recent one than the Smiley Face. He went missing in March and turned up a little bit it's probably about 2 weeks later. I could be wrong. Someone can feel free to correct me on that. But they had video on him off and on, and then he goes in the water right near the county jail. Now, the police report that they had poor video quality, but they had poor video quality going the whole way towards the jail. And then apparently at the jail, they also report poor video, but they did not release it near the jail. There was a homeless man near the river who apparently may have been wearing some of the clothes of Riley. And he claimed he asked some commotion, and he asked about the guy. And supposedly another guy with Riley said that he was just totally drunk. Another theory, of course, is that somehow he got close to the water and the homeless man ended up drowning him. Unfortunately. I don't rule that out either.
Right.
The way the stuff ended up that Riley had right on the water there.
Them homeless people are desperate.
Yes, and they are mentally ill, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I definitely do not rule that
out
at all.
Some of them are military or retired or veterans.
Then they would be strong and know how to do that kind of thing as well.
Right.
More so than the normal person, possibly.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah. PTSD is a major thing when it comes to vets.
I didn't think that's a very good point.
My brother suffers from that, and he changed big time.
Wow. All right. Now we have our story segment. It has to do with the mysterious Aaron lights of northern Manitoba in Canada. For our story segment tonight, it comes to us from northern Manitoba in Canada. Mystery of the Aaron Lights has never been solved by Burchick. It was a warm summer night in northern Manitoba on a road that one day be called number 660. My mother Ann, quite young then, was walking home from the town of Aaron. It was pitch black, of course. She was alone except for a deep, dark, scary forest. But Manitobans, at least in those years, the late 30s and early 40s, were a tough lot. It didn't scare her one bit. But what happened next is something she had never expected. As she walked along, she felt something was behind her. She looked back, and sure enough, there was a light high up above the road. She tried to ignore it, thinking maybe it was something natural. But it got closer and closer and closer, and eventually it passed her and was in front of her at a small distance high up. She stopped, and it stopped. She walked on, and it moved on, maintaining its distance. She yelled at it to go away and leave her alone, in Ukrainian, of course, as if mysterious lights know how to speak Ukrainian. But it did appear to have intelligence because it zoomed away as if scared. Then it returned, backing up as she walked home, and then it was gone, just as fast as it appeared. Only then could she breathe easy. She was safe. The light was gone. She would tell her dad, our Guido, who dismissed it as something natural and not to be afraid of. My mom, who was a teen at the time, wasn't so sure. What she saw was what she saw. It was like something out of a frightening children's fable. Peter Pan's Tinkerbell. A week later, she is faced with the same dilemma. She walked the same road and no light. She kept looking behind her and no light. But as she turned her head, the light was right in front of her, just yards away. This terrified her. Again, the light would follow her every step, stay with her, not harming her or doing anything of that sort, but it followed her. And then she said it did a little dance. It danced away in front of her playfully. It seemed just as curious about her as she was about it. And then just as fast, it disappeared in the forest, gone. This would go on for the entire summer. The light would appear, and then it would disappear. But only late at night when it was pitch black. As my mom, rest her soul, told the story to us in her Swan River home, she could not recall anyone else who had experienced the same thing. We tossed out ideas. Perhaps it was the phenomenon called swamp gas, which emits orbs of light. The area was a bit swampy, come to think of it. But she insisted the light had intelligence. It reacted to her. And there were no drones in those days. Nothing even close. Nor could it have been a balloon carrying a candle. This thing was moving around rather quickly. Could it have been alien-inspired, we thought, something from another world, come to Earth to explore humanity? We now know that the Greys are interested in some bloodlines, hence all the abduction stories. But my mom had no memory of such an abduction. She had a normal prairie upbringing. Interestingly, Aaron is not the only place in Manitoba where ear lights have been seen. According to the CBC, since the late 30s, stories have been told about the dancing lights at the end of a road along the railway line just east of Woodridge in southeast Manitoba. A story very similar to the Aaron lights. Local city light is a lantern carried by the headless ghost of a man who was killed by a train many years ago. Similar haunted stories are told about two islands in Manitoba, both known to local residents as Devil's Island. One is located east of Camperville in the middle of Lake Winnipegosis, and the other is in Lake Winnipeg, about 6 kilometers northeast of Albert Beach. There are tales of people who have camped on the islands only to wake in a panic and leave in the night, chased away by eerie lights. We decided to drive and have a look at number 660 for ourselves, with my then wife and young daughter in tow, but we went during the day. She took us first to the site of her school, Podolia. There was nothing there, not even a foundation, but a sign marked its past history. My mom remembered exactly on number 660 where the light would appear and disappear. It was a fresh memory for her. We stopped, got out, looked around. There were nearby farms, but this section was still heavily forested. For those interested, it was just north of Erin, a very small village. Only a few folks live there today, and none of them remember any lights. Of course, we saw no aliens, ghosts, demons, or anything of the like, and there was no cemetery in the immediate area. Nothing to provide any clue of what happened half a century earlier. Just that wonderful smell of Manitoba in spring, something I deeply miss. We had no plans of waiting until the sun went down, so we got back in our vehicle and drove off. The mystery of the Erin Lights would stay secret, and we may never know what it was. All right. I didn't
For
really
the
have many good pictures to go with this one, so I just kind of guessed.
for
So,
people who don't know what 6 kilometers is, it's 3.7 miles.
thank you. That would be a lot of us who are watching right now.
But to me, I think that's more or less like a spirit guide.
Well, that's a definite possibility if she's able to see it.
Right.
I and she said it like danced around,
Right.
which is really odd. That's not normal for a light. I wouldn't even say a ghost would normally be doing that. So
Right.
I don't know. That's one I really have no clue on. Although it is someone's interpretation of what they saw. So we
Right.
weren't there, so we don't know exactly what happened. But it's an
I'm gonna
interesting story.
I'm gonna stick with spirit guide because it seems a little too friendly with her.
Well, that's true. And ghosts usually aren't that friendly. Lights aren't that friendly.
No,
Nothing in the realm is that friendly normally.
no, they either come and go, or they're there for a couple of seconds and they're gone.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go towards our conference segment for tonight. And let's get into it right now. Our conference spotlight this week is the Paranormal Research Symposium, August 17th in Gettysburg. It's a gathering to discuss paranormal research, investigation methods, theories, projects, and experiments. Presented by the Association of Paranormal Study. Embark on a journey into the unknown at the Paranormal Research Symposium, proudly presented by the Association of Paranormal Study. This groundbreaking interdisciplinary conference invites you to delve into the realms of the unexplained, pushing the boundaries of academic, spiritual, and scientific inquiry into paranormal phenomena. Join us for a thought provoking exploration of paranormal research, investigative methods, theories, projects, and experiments. Speakers include John Sable and Mary Becker, Karen and Chris Carruthers, Pat Broussard O'Keefe, Misty O'Connor and Ashley O'Connor, Lisa Crick, and presentations by Robert Bradley, Amelia Cotter, Joshua Cutchin and Timothy Renner, Alex Matsuo, Aaron Taylor, Victoria J., Ron Iacovetti, Lourdes Gonzalez and Tony Rathman, Michael Magner, Sabrina Beakley, Kristen Lee, Ariana Sotis, and T. Morris. Again, August 17th in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. All right. Normally, I'm going to speak up on this one as one that interests me. I usually am not very interested in these. For example, this weekend is the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. I do not plan on making that trip. There's a reason why I'm not going into details on it. I have a little bit of disagreement with people running the thing, but this one, the Paranormal Research Symposium. There's one presentation there that intrigues me. I had on Ron Iacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez on the show. Them, along with Tony Rathman, do the Static-Com thing. Static-Com, somehow, I need to see a demonstration of this. It's a way to get direct communication that avoids the frequency part of radios.
Mm.
And it's somehow supposed to kind of get the white noise without kind of the white noise, the static in that you don't hear.
Okay.
Which to me is very intriguing.
Yeah.
So that is something I will actually possibly look into going, is the one I have right here. And I do not say that for anything for these normally. But yeah, that's one thing that's very intriguing. If you can catch our presentation somewhere, please let me know what you thought of their presentation, because we have people from all over the place and they do travel. So
yeah,
let me know what you think. And that's one thing, like I said, that's one thing that intrigues me of all the things we've ever done here or shown as far as conferences go.
get your paranormal on.
You better believe it. Well, time has flown by. Thank you for watching the episode of This Week in Paranormal. We look forward to having another episode ready soon. I'm going to try to have it ready for next week. If I'm able to next week, we'll have a double header. We'll be on for 7 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock, Michael Purcell will be on interviewing Brian and Kano. So that would be a rare double header on our channel.
Yeah.
Very rare, actually. Be sure to like or give a thumbs up and subscribe to everything we do here at the CARC, especially if you like the channel, like the show. Please do it to help us out greatly.
Yeah.
And we greatly appreciate. Thank you. We appreciate everyone for watching. Chad, do you have anything to add?
Just watch it, subscribe, like, share.
Certainly, he's right on the share too. We don't mention that, but that would also help us greatly.
Yes.
Definitely expand our reach there. All right, I agree with Chad. I don't really have anything to add, so we're going to take us out. Just one moment here, and we'll be taking it out here.
Have a good night, y'all.
You too. So long.
This has been a